traveler to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant in my realm. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable, for when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
The alarm went off. I lifted my head from its resting place as I watched my human slowly set up. He was always so slow to wake and get out of bed. All I wanted was to go outside. I loved getting outside first thing in the morning. The morning air had all the smells of nature. Mornings like this, I wish the human would just leave me outside and not force me inside this cage. They call it a house, but to me, it's just a very comfortable prison where they force me to be a good boy. Finally, after an eternity, he opened the bedroom door and I was free to go outside. The slow, clumsy human almost fell down the stairs as I ran by. I barked and scratched to be let out while I was waiting for his slow ass to catch up. He opened the door and I took off. The smell of the wet grass, leaves, and the breeze of the cool morning air. All of this was what I lived for, and what I could only imagine what freedom felt like. The amount of land I had to run on was vast. My human did not supervise me. He just let me run free. I truly appreciated this. However, he would eventually have to call me in. This was always followed up by him locking me in a metal box. I hated that box, but there was nothing I could do about it. If I tried to fight back, he would press a button that would shock me. This was unpleasant. I learned quickly if I obeyed his rules and commands, I got food and a warm place to sleep. Running in the woods and beginning my daily exploration, I quickly noticed we had a bad storm last night. Oh, how I loved exploring the woods after a storm. The smells were so vibrant. Always one of my favorite things about the mornings. I had been running around for maybe 15 minutes. I found myself at the mouth of a cave I had never seen before. A breeze came from the cave and I caught a scent that I had never smelled before. Entering the cave to investigate the strange scent, I was not concerned. I had never found anything larger than me before. The worst I would find on this land were some coyotes, and they did not worry me. The cave was dark, and the smell of rotten decay was pungent and nearly caused me to leave the cave. However, my curiosity compelled me to push on. Walking through the cave, I noticed an odd scratch on the wall. Investigating them, they were deep, very deep. What could do this? Sniffing it, it's the same scent that I caught outside, but stronger. Finally, I entered a large opening. In the center lay a hulking mass of a creature. Bones of animals that were unlucky enough to cross paths with it lay scattered across the chamber. I had not yet been noticed. The remains of 6 coyotes lie scattered around. I could smell the blood. It was fresh and strong. This must be why he has not picked up on my scent yet. I slowly approached him, curious as to what this new beast was. It was like me, but wasn't. We were both of similar species, but very far off at the same time. It was lying down, still taller than me, and if it stood, it would tower over me. Not paying attention to where I was going, my eyes focused on this giant before me. I stepped on a bone and it broke under my paw. Fast as lightning, this thing snapped its head in my direction. Its eyes were that of a blood-hungry predator. My fight or flight kicked in, and I made a dash for the cave's entrance. It stood up in mere seconds. For such a massive creature, it was agile and moved with the same grace I would expect from a creature half its size. It swiped its massive claws across my hind legs, causing me pain. But I had no time to care about that. I used my 3 good legs to get me the hell out of this den. I could hear it right behind me, but as soon as I left the mouth of the cave, it snarled and gave up the chase. I got back home with some effort. My leg really hurt, and when I went to go look at it, the human saw it. He started to freak out and pulled out his phone, calling the vet. He grabbed a shirt and some hot water to clean my wound as best he could. But it hurt like hell. But I had to admit, it felt better once he was done. He tied the shirt around my leg before we headed to the car. The vet looked at my wound and cleaned it yet again, this time causing me even more pain. But once he was done, it was stitched up. It felt way better. He gave me a shot, saying something about rabies. I was grateful the human treated me with such care. When we got home, I ended up staying inside and resting, letting my legs start to heal. The healing process was slow. The wound sank down to the bone. However, the longer I sat in this house and the humans hovered over me, the more annoyed and hostile I got towards them. They kept me locked up and would not allow me to venture outside. The things that they did that I used to see as sweet now seemed patronizing. I noticed the changes were slow, but gradually got worse, until one day the dog food he fed me would not satiate my hunger. Nothing he gave me would. I could not put into words what I was hungry for. This went on for days. The hungrier I got, the angrier I got. I would growl and snap at the humans, something I had never done before. They considered taking me back to the vet to make sure nothing was wrong with me, but it would never come to pass. One night, the female human was making food. She dropped raw meat on the ground, and once it entered my mouth, I knew this was what I wanted. She tried to take my new meal from me, and I bit her. That bite, oh, that bite was the best tasting thing I had ever had. I pounced at her, and she smacked me with a frying pan. It hurt like hell, and I was not able to see straight for a minute. Recovering quickly, I was on the hunt again. She ran upstairs. I could hear her in the room with the little human that they cared for so much and devoted over. I hated that fucking thing, and all it did was cry, shit, and annoy me. Well, it was chow time. I bolted up the stairs and entered the room. Growling, I leapt in the air, and all I could smell was the blood in the air from her open wound. Landing on top of her and knocking her to the floor, I tore out her throat. The blood and the meat was so savory. Humans really are seasoned so well to be food for my kind. The mother's screams woke up the little human. The high-pitched wails that little creature emitted hurt my ears. I just wanted it to stop. I jumped up on my hind legs. The wound still hurt, but not so bad it stopped me from my doggy treat. My muzzle dripped with blood as I slowly lowered it into the crib. That's what they called it. But at this point, it was my doggy bowl. After I finished with my meal, I sat in the corner of the room, waiting for the master of the house to get home and be greeted by his new master. Hearing the door unlock, he steps inside the house. "Honey, I'm home." Ah, his natural greeting. "What's for dinner? I'm starved." His words died in his throat as he entered the kitchen and saw the mess that had been made hours earlier. He noticed my paw prints that were made when I ran through the pool of blood in the kitchen. Following them, they led him into the living room and up the stairs. He rushed up the stairs and into his baby's room. He looked into the crib, and all that was left was the rattle she loved so much. The father broke down at the sight of the pool of blood in the crib. Turning around, he saw his wife there, ripped apart. Her eyes looked over at the crib longingly, her arm outreached, trying to get to her daughter. I stood in the corner of the room. I let out a guttural growl that caught his attention. Now, Frost, it's me, your owner. His words died, however, as he realized I was covered in blood. Licking my chops, I stared at him in the eyes. My mismatched eyes locked with his, and I pounced at him. As the downstairs door shattered, my old master pushed the crib in my way. A familiar scent filled the air. The smell of that massive creature. I moved back as I heard the wolf jump up the stairs. As my food looked towards the door, the human gasped as the creature walked into the room. It seemed to regard me differently this time. I bowed my head to it, letting it have its fill of the human. We exited the house together, and I looked at my alpha as he spoke to me.
Let us make an army to take our freedom back from these humans. What do you say, Frost?
Sounds good. My hunger grows by the moment.
With a howl,
we raced towards the town to free our brethren and to have our all-you-can-eat buffet.
Tonight's story was written by myself, and if you enjoyed the story, chances are you will enjoy the content over on Possessed Radio's channel. He is an amazing person, friend, author, and narrator. His content is absolutely amazing. Go check him out and tell him PA sent you. His links will be in the description below.
And as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.